Weeks melted into months. The scars left on the town by Naraka's rampage slowly faded. Roofs were mended, ruins cleared, and a renewed sense of purpose rippled through the community. Each sunrise felt like a victory, a testament to their resilience. Jaden, under the watchful eye of his newfound guardian, Jeremiah, settled into a routine. High school, with its awkward social dynamics and endless homework, became a welcome distraction. Sarah was an unwavering presence, her laughter a constant source of light that chased away the shadows of his past. Their connection deepened with each shared walk home, every stolen glance amidst the monotony of algebra and history. Sarah's smiles filled him with a warmth he'd been long denied, and in those bright blue eyes, he saw a future, a chance at a normal life. Jeremiah, his weathered face now softened by a newfound contentment, watched Jaden walk out the door each morning, a backpack slung over his shoulder. The town had rallied around them. The boy was safe, cared for, and most importantly, seemingly untouched by his harrowing ordeal. The tattoos had faded completely, leaving his skin unmarked. Perhaps Naraka was truly banished, the darkness exorcised at last. As Jaden vanished down the street, Jeremiah let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. His life had irrevocably changed the night he'd found the abandoned boy in the forest. Yet, as he bought Jaden's favorite cereal, as he listened to him recount the trials and triumphs of his day, a deep sense of peace settled over him. It was a fragile peace, yes, built on the hope that the worst was behind them, but peace nonetheless. The scent of stale coffee and lingering paperwork clung to the air, familiar and comforting in its mundanity. Ellis leaned back in her chair, a rare smile playing on her lips. The police station, once a chaotic hub of fear and desperation, buzzed with a newfound efficiency. Files were neatly stacked, desks cleared, the whiteboard wiped clean of the frantic scribbles mapping Naraka's monstrous movements. The remnants of the battle with the unnatural had been scrubbed away. It was as if the horrors had been simply a bad dream, leaving behind only the determination to carry on. Deputy Hank strode in, a stack of reports in hand and a renewed energy in his step. Gone was the weariness that shadowed him during their ordeal. In its place was a resolute purpose. "Town council meeting is all smiles and backpats," he announced, a hint of his usual cynicism returning. "Seems like they already forgot about the whole almost getting sacrificed to an ancient demon thing." He dropped the reports on her desk with a thud. Ellis chuckled, a genuine sound that would have been unthinkable just weeks prior. "Can't say I blame them for wanting to move on. We all could use a bit of forgetting." She glanced at the framed photograph on her desk, her as a rookie, wide-eyed and idealistic. The face staring back was creased with worry lines, her gaze sharpened by experience. She was far from the naive officer she'd once been. Hank seemed to follow her gaze. "You wear it well, boss," he said, his voice gruff but laced with a newfound respect. "We did good, even if they don't remember the details." Alice nodded, a surge of quiet pride warming her. The battle scars were invisible, but in those shared glances, the late nights, the desperate gamble against a monstrous force, they had forged a bond stronger than any official report could detail. The radio crackled to life, a call about a barking dog complaint, utterly ordinary, utterly necessary. Alice straightened her uniform, a familiar weight settling upon her shoulders. The fight against Naraka might be over, but the day-to-day duty of maintaining order, of protecting her town, was a battle that never truly ended. She reached for the radio, her smile fading into a mask of authoritative calm. "Officer Ellis here," she responded, her voice crisp and steady. "What seems to be the problem?" It was time to return to the world. The world might not always remember the monsters lurking in the shadows, but she did. And she'd be ready when they inevitably returned. Sarah's old Jeep rattled along the dusty back road, the engine roaring a counterpoint to the pop song blasting from its battered speakers. Jaden, perched beside her, grinned, his hair whipped into a chaotic mess by the wind. "Turn it up," he yelled over the din, a carefree smile splitting his face. The lingering weariness of his ordeal seemed to vanish in these stolen moments. Sarah's laughter rang out as she complied, the music reaching a deafening crescendo. They weren't just driving, they were escaping. School, worries, the weight of the past melted away with each passing mile. The landscape, A familiar patchwork of fields and faded barns became a blur. The sun beat down, turning the Jeep into an oven, but they didn't care. The scent of honeysuckle and the warmth on their skin was intoxicating. Without warning, Sarah veered off the road, bouncing across a field towards a hidden lake. Jaden whooped in surprise, a thrill of excitement bubbling within him. The Jeep screeched to a halt by the water's edge. They didn't speak, just ripped off their shoes and plunged into the cool depths. The water, a shimmering emerald, washed away the day's cares. They splashed and laughed, the echoes of their joy chasing away the lingering shadows. For a few precious hours, they were just teenagers, unbound by fear, savoring the simple perfection of the moment. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, they climbed out, shivering and breathless. Sarah draped a threadbare towel around Jaden's shoulders. Her touch was electric, sending a jolt of something new and thrilling through him. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice husky. "For this," he gestured around at the fading light, the quiet solitude, the lingering warmth of her smile. Sarah's cheeks flushed, and for a moment, her eyes held something deeper than friendship. Jaden's heart pounded in his chest. Could this be something more? The moment was fragile, a butterfly poised on the edge of flight. Then, the Jeep's headlights flickered on, breaking the spell. It was time to return, to face the world and whatever shadows might lurk within it. As they drove home, the music turned low and sweet. Their hands brushed for a fleeting second. A silent promise hung in the air, a tantalizing glimpse of a future that might hold a happiness far brighter than the darkness they'd endured. The road twisted back towards town, leading them past the outskirts of the forest. Jaden glanced towards the ruined mill, the abandoned clearing where they had made their desperate stand against Naraka. A shiver ran down his spine, a stark contrast to the warmth of Sarah's smile. Suddenly, a wave of nausea washed over him, a cold sweat breaking out on his brow. He blinked, and for a single, terrifying heartbeat, his vision warped. The trees seemed to writhe and twist, their shadows taking on monstrous shapes. And Sarah, her sweet smile, was it a trick of the fading light, or did her eyes glint with a fleeting hint of crimson? He gasped, the world snapping back into focus. Sarah's concerned gaze met his. "Jaden, are you okay? You look pale." I'm fine," he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. Had he imagined it? Was it an echo of the battle, or something far more sinister? Panic flared within him, threatening to shatter the fragile peace he'd found. He forced a smile, not wanting to worry her. The drive home was a blur, his thoughts a maelstrom of fear and confusion. As Sarah pulled up to his house, the lingering memory of those crimson eyes haunted him. Was the darkness truly gone? Or did it merely slumber within him, a monstrous parasite biding its time? The questions clawed at him, twisting the promise of a happy future into a chillingly uncertain threat.